everybody. Welcome to, what are we calling this, Jim? All in, all lion, all the time? Are we taking suggestions?
We could take suggestions from the audience if we'd like.
Man.
But for today, it's going to be Inside Lion Athletics.
I like that because there's so much to talk about. Year 3 has finally begun on the transition to get A&M Commerce from Division II in the Lone Star Conference. We've already made the move to the Southland Conference. 2 years to go until playoffs are ready. You got some teams that are already playoff caliber, Jim.
I would agree with that. We may be 2 years away from playoffs, but in terms of competing for championships, we're already there, and the potential to win championships, we've got some teams that are certainly going to be in the hunt for sure.
Man, you've got so much activity on campus today, move-in day, so there's a lot of new Lions coming in, but gosh, you've got cross country's already running. Yep. Soccer's already had a friendly and its first game of the year. Knocked off Oral Roberts 4-1.
Yeah,
wasn't that fun?
Really impressive. Really impressive. And I think we all knew going into the year that we'd have a really competitive squad, and they really answered the bell for sure, at least in that first game. And so they're an exciting group. If you haven't caught them yet, come out and catch them. Whether it be here at the soccer park or on ESPN Plus. So we've got a heck of a squad this year for sure.
All right, Jim. So tell us a little bit. We're still working on a lot of this, so if we're a little rough, you'll understand. But folks, podcasts. We should have had one of these for years.
Yeah, I think what we've been working on over the last year is trying to find more ways to deliver more content to Lion supporters. There's so much going on, like you said, and so I think we're going to continue to explore new ways to deliver that information, that content, kind of from the source, and maybe provide a little bit of additional insights or maybe even some scoops here now and then in terms of what's going on with Lion Athletics, or try to do that on a little bit more regular basis as well, just so you can hear not only from us on the administrative side, but also from our coaches, our student athletes, and get to build a little bit more of a relationship with them as well.
You know, the relationships that they build with Lion fans, I'm talking about the athletes, there's such a new crop. Everybody gets so eager. And when you move up in classification, suddenly the information about all these young student athletes, it's big time.
It really is. I mean, the platform is incredible, right? That Division I provides, and I think I'm constantly reminded of that, even though I've worked in it for 20 years, just because I'm probably a little more attentive to it now. But in this seat, but there was an announcement the other day about the San Diego State starting quarterback on Twitter that, and it mentioned Texas A&M Commerce in the tweet, obviously, because we're opening with them. And within the first 2 hours, it had 450,000 views. So 450,000 people found out about or heard about or connected with A&M Commerce through an announcement on the starting quarterback for the team we're going to play in Week 1. And that just kind of gives you just a snapshot, a small example of the reach that the platform provides for the university overall, our student athletes, our coaches, our teams, the athletics department, and what have you. So leveraging that in a really effective way is important. Again, not just for what we're doing in athletics, but what we're doing as a university overall.
All from just a simple little announcement. Here's our new starting quarterback, and by the way, he's going to debut against the Lions.
That's exactly
of
right.
A&M Commerce. It's so much fun. Brock Calloway sent that to me. He was on the spot with that.
No question. Well, and if you saw some work that Avi put out earlier in the summer about our reach overall, over 1 million hits on LionAthletics.com. LionAthletics.com this past year, which is incredible. And with that said, all but 12 countries in the world had a hit on LionAthletics.com this past year. I mean, it's incredible to think about.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. That's great stuff.
It is.
I think we've seen all of a sudden there are Lions not just in Detroit, but let's see, we've got one in Miami.
Yep.
Cater Kohu
Yep.
playing for the Miami Dolphins. You've got Levi Drake Rodriguez, who's got a sack in his very first NFL preseason game up in Minnesota. And a couple of guys in Canada. And then this Saturday, lo and behold, Luis Perez Mr. Championship. Mr. Natty himself is going to be playing for the San Diego Chargers against the Dallas Cowboys. How cool is that?
Incredible. I mean, I think it just kind of speaks again to just the trajectory overall. The term I like to use relative to this Division I transition is proof of concept moments. And, again, I think I recognized coming in when I first got here that there were some people that were a little unsure about this move to Division I. And I think just methodically over the last 2 years, and again, it's crazy to only think 2 years given all the success we've had, but that we continue to see proof of concept moments like this. So again, a guy getting drafted for the first time in 24 years, a guy who's featured on Hard Knocks, a guy who was the XFL championship game MVP, who's now got a really good shot to be on the 53-man roster for the Chargers. So, I mean, just incredible stuff. But you take that and you juxtapose it with 3 Olympians, and I'm sure we'll get to that at some point too, but 3 Olympians who, which is more than any team in the Southland Conference, any school in the Southland Conference, and more than 80% of Division I. So again, when we talk about being able to compete at this level, prove that we belong at this level, just proof of concept moments all along the way that we continue to see, and there's certainly more to come.
All right. Well, as everything's new and advancing and all that, there's some rebranding going on. Oh boy, wasn't it the talk around here for a while? But that seems to have settled down, whichever way you feel about it. But you still want to get the new look. Once upon a time, Jim, we had a Lion's Head logo on the football field, and it touched the sidelines almost from the 25 to the 25. Seen from outer space.
Seen from outer space. That's exactly right.
It's a big logo.
Yeah, I've seen it, and people have mentioned it to me as well. I'll say this. It was obviously getting a little bit too quiet around here for the summer, so we thought we'd just throw in a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
No, here's what I will say, just taking a step back for a minute. How fortunate we are that we've got leadership that's thinking about the long-term strategy and the long-term vision for this university and where we want to position it. And not just in athletics, right? But athletics is certainly a part of that, right? Just the move to Division I alone and what that does for the university profile, the platform, leveraging that and what have you. But whether you agreed with the concept or not of A&M Dallas, I think it's appropriate that we recognize that there's people that are thinking about how we unlock the full potential of this place and be bold enough to think bigger about who we are. And so I'm grateful for that, in the seat that I sit in. And, here's what I'm as equally grateful for in terms of not just bold vision and strategy for how we want to unlock the potential of this place, but also the ability to listen to its stakeholders, take that feedback, and then say, you know what, this isn't the right thing for us, in terms of what we're trying to do. So, it's one thing to say you're going to listen to people, right? And I can understand why, again, I've been here 16 months. I've learned a lot about what happened in '96 in the last 6 months, all right? But whatever happened then, one of the things I've heard is that people didn't feel like that they were heard, right? The people were heard, right? And so how inspiring and awesome is that not only do you have an opportunity to be heard, but that they listen as well. And so, again, kudos to the leadership to do that.
9,000 plus signatures
Yeah,
on that. That's a lot
that
of
was
Lion
just the
alum
petition,
that just
right?
came
Yeah.
together because of that one
Yeah,
thing.
right.
And now we're expecting them to stick around a little bit and
Well, hey,
have fun with it.
there's another way to channel that energy too, right? We'll talk
Absolutely.
about the Lion Athletic Scholarship Fund later, right?
There you
Right.
go. That's
no,
right.
but in all seriousness, to that end, though, I think President Rudin was very intentional in the way that he crafted his response to the university community about the A&M Dallas decision, in that he continues to listen to stakeholders on all things.
He was a research guy in his earlier career, wasn't he?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And there's a process to all that. And
Research, business development, those types of things. So, but what I would say too is that he continues to listen to stakeholders in this rebranding conversation, and so I think what we had seen through that is that we had a lot of feedback on it across multiple different kind of thoughts or camps, as I kind of called them. We kind of had that A&M Commerce crowd. We had the ET crowd. We had the A&M Dallas crowd. Supporters all along the way for all three. We know one of them's off the table, but I promise you he continues to listen to feedback on the rebrand. And so, he said in his email, if you've got thoughts on this, mark.rudin@tmuc.edu. That still holds true today as we sit here, just a week before the start of campus opening.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been a very, very, very interesting summer. Okay, what about rebrand on football and visual rebrand? We always spiff up the logo and, is there any new catchphrase
I'll say this. I think
get behind collectively?
Yeah, I think the thing that people may notice maybe right out the gate is what we did in the field house this summer. Between new lighting that completely brightened everything, almost night and day, literally, but also redoing the floor. And just what that kind of does in terms of just creating a fresh look and a more prominent kind of feel for the brand as well. We'll continue to see elements of that deployed throughout, but we're continuing to work on our game day presentation in football, having a little bit more fun with that, and trying to elevate that for fans who are here as well. And so we'll continue to try to carry that forward as we get into the winter and the fall and the spring as well.
Lions won't have a home opener for football until the middle of the month. That's going to be rather anticipated ticket, won't it?
We have an excellent home schedule this year. It is unbelievable. And when you think about who we open with Grambling, and obviously being close, they're going to bring a lot of folks. So again, we're going to need a lot of folks coming out for that too, because they're going to bring a crowd for sure. And then the next week, we bring a top 10 team in the country here in Sacramento State. That's a return from last year. And then we fast forward, get to October. We've got Lamar here for homecoming. Again, we know we'll have a great crowd there and a great opportunity there for to compete there. And then fast forward, and the folks from down in it's SFA coming in November 9. People may have heard a couple guys from there, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And then close it out with Houston Christian and UIW, another top 25 team. Incredible.
Speaking of those SFA, they claim that we have something of theirs. Did some of the luggage get mixed up coming back from San Antonio?
There might have been an equipment bag next to the other one. I'm not really sure all the details on it, but needless to say, there was going to be a little energy around that game, and there's probably a little bit more now.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, so let's see what else we got. Let's talk a little bit about the transition process, starting on year 3. What, there's boxes you have to check off along the way. We've checked off 2 years' worth. What comes next?
Yeah, well, and I think before we get to next, I think it's probably appropriate to acknowledge the progress that had been made just in year 2 alone. A lot of transformational things going on within the NCAA, particularly as it relates to holistic student-athlete care. And they asked us a lot of very pointed questions about how we would handle that. Everybody's got to do that across all Division I, not just transition schools. That's a new thing for this year. And, great feedback on what we've done there. So felt really good, not only about the transition element of it, but also being able to meet new heightened requirements for student-athlete care holistically. And then on top of that, a lot of questions about terms of what we do with eligibility certification, academic support, graduation rates. Again, continue to see improvement there as well, or continued success is what I should probably say, but also, continuing to raise the bar there. So, again, they acknowledge that in the feedback that we got after year 2. So now we get into year 3, and we've got a really strong foundation. We still got more work to do, but we'll get into a very, very intensive self-study that will involve the entire campus community across the board, and that will be about a 400-page report that we submit in May of next year as part of our year 3 submission.
No Reader's Digest abridged version of that.
Unfortunately,
all 400 pages have to be filled
Someone's
out.
going to have to type it, so we'll take volunteers if you're listening at home. And but yeah, we've got a lot of good work getting done. A lot more work to do.
Okay, one last thing because it's fun. It's sports, right? So there's 4 other schools that are transitioning in the same class as A&M Commerce. And when you look at football and basketball, and softball, those are the sports that all 5 of the schools play except for the football. There's only 3 of them.
Yep.
But the Lions are looking pretty good in their move, checking off boxes and moving up.
Totally.
Everybody wants to be the valedictorian.
Of course. Yeah. Again, I think it just is a continued testament to what's possible at this place. And not just what's possible, but what's being accomplished as well. And that's just, frankly, I think a testament to everybody involved with the university. The thing that I love about what President Rudin talks about when we talk about Division I is that we're not just going D1 as an athletics department, we're going D1 as a university.
Right.
And that's a really important mindset to understand, is that it takes everybody. It takes our donors, it takes our campus community, it takes faculty, staff, it takes athletics, coaches, student athletes, our student community. It literally takes everybody to do this. And so, as long as we continue to embrace and lean into that, which we have as a campus community, then not only are we going to look or present well relative to our transition class peers, but frankly, we'll be positioned well and present well across the entire Division I, which we're doing right now.
Oh, man. Outstanding. Yep. Okay. Hey, coming up, we've got Ashley Gordon ready to join us. She and the Lions soccer team have headed west. They're going out to El Paso and then on to Las Cruces. And they are going to see what they can do against the Miners and the Aggies out there. Her stuff done a little bit earlier. Avi, I think, is on the recording with her. So, hey, 4-1. You talk about progression.
Yep.
We lost to Oral Roberts in the season opener 2 years ago.
Yep.
And that was
4-0.
4-0.
Yeah, 4-0.
Blanked us. We hadn't scored a goal yet.
Yep.
And then last year, 2-2. This year, we get them down to Hunt County, 4-1. And you get the Offensive Player of the Week in the Southland Conference Awards.
It was an impressive showing. Dominated possession. Our speed and quickness really showed. We're going to be a threat in the Southland Conference this year. There's no doubt about it. Finished
second last year, and what impressed me the most was the crowd. Folks, come on out and watch some Lions soccer. It's fun.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Athletics Podcast. We're here with Lions soccer coach Ashley Gordon. Coach, want to know on the year for big win over Oral Roberts last Thursday. Just your overall thoughts of the win.
Thought we played really well, and I thought it was just an extension of our exhibition match against Little Rock. We had a lot of great impact and contribution from a number of players. Scoring 4 goals in the very first opening match, I think, is huge for our confidence, especially going into this next weekend, which is going to be a test.
3 returners scored the 4 goals. All of your returners from last year, 100% of your goal production came back. Big part of it was Hannah Bell, who was later today is going to be announced as Southland Player of the Week. Just your thoughts on her performance at the start of the season.
I thought she played really well. She can create her own chances off the run of play or from a set piece, but she can score either foot, left or right footed, and she could take on her change of pace is incredible, but she certainly has the ability to be able to get in behind any back line.
And then defensively, the 2 prior times, Oral Roberts combined to score 6 goals. They were just held to 1 on Thursday. Just the improvement on the defensive side.
We have more of a veteran back line, but I think from a defensive unit, I thought that we were super organized. And even when we came out in the second half, when there was a little bit of a change in formation or how Oral Roberts was playing, I thought we responded really well to that. We were able to solve problems, especially on the fly, and I think it's a great testament to just our overall unit. Proud of Jill being able to get the shutout, obviously, in the first half. We had a breakdown in the second half for the 1 goal, but I think that we still have a lot of room for improvement, for sure.
And then you now headed off west to UTEP and New Mexico State. UTEP opponent you saw here last year ended up being a close game, but just your overall thoughts on UTEP as you go against them on Thursday.
Yeah, they're a new coach as well. He's going into his 2nd season, so he's putting together pieces and recruiting his own players. So I think that we're gonna see some of the same players that we saw last year, but they're in the process of building their program as well, just as we have been for going into our 3rd year. But playing on the road, playing at UTEP, having to travel, playing on turf, it's a different surface, certainly is going to be a challenge.
And New Mexico State has had an impressive start to the year, tied USC, was nationally ranked, and then beat New Mexico. It's going to be a tough opponent come Saturday to end that week.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough opponent. It'll be the first time for the season that's going to be a quick turnaround with a 48-hour period. So, certainly rest and recovery. We're having to travel in between both games. But New Mexico State is a really good side, tied USC. They do have to play Oregon before playing against us. So, I think that's going to be a test. But we're certainly going into a great opponent and again, playing on the road.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside Line Athletics. I'm Charlie Chitwood, joined now by women's volleyball head coach Joe Morales. Joe, it's a start to your year too, and y'all hit the ground running, and then boom, you're into the season.
Yeah, we did. It's got the kids here. We're literally finishing our second week of two-a-days, and lots of improvement. We added on 6 this fall, plus the 3 we added on the spring. So we've been learning each other really well, and the kids have been acclimating pretty good, and they're excited for the season just as we are.
Talk a little bit about the team building exercises. Everybody has those for their programs, and it's different because each program is just as different as the sports.
Well, I think our team, the way we structured it a little bit, other than we do a little bit more team bonding, getting to know the kids. We watch some. We also put in some volleyball, so we did a watch party for the USA Olympics and a little tutorage there, so that helped us. The kids. I will say this is one of the first programs I've been in where the kids take it on their own to do the things themselves. So all our kids, our culture has been really good. Everyone's bought in, but they all kind of hang out together, which is really awesome. So it helps me with that category a little bit, especially with the minimizing the days and what we have to get what we need to do. So the kids have been pretty good with that in that aspect. I think even last Sunday they had a church day, and then all of them met at the movies, and they all went to go watch a movie together. So things like that, you can't ask for, much more.
So what kind of reactions were you witnessing when they walked in and saw the lights turned on that brand new floor?
Oh, it was great. The first thing was like, oh my God, this is awesome. It's bright. It's clear. They're like, man, there's no shadows out here anymore. And in the new floor, they got on it. We were the first to get on the floor, so they loved it. They absolutely love it. They weren't slipping and sliding anymore, and so they were gung-ho about it.
Tell us a little bit about the season coming up. I mean, you couldn't get Alabama to play you again. That's what you get for beating them last year.
I guess so.
We'll never forgive that game.
I guess so. Well, we put a little bit more on our plate this year. It's a little bit more testing the waters a little bit with what we have, and we're going to have some adversity out in us, and I think that's really good for us in our second year. Putting a little bit more pressure. We're playing 4 power fours, so in our third and fourth weekend, we're going to see TCU, UCLA, Houston, and Ole Miss. And then we, in our second weekend, we see East Carolina, which is also a top contender in the American Conference. So we're excited, and of course, the first weekend we get to spend it at home a little bit. Well, I think that's important for us, and which is why I went in the first weekend, because playing together at home kind of get a little bit of the rust off and the play off a little bit, and so it's gonna be a fun ride, that's for sure. It's gonna be exciting, gonna be an experience, and you're gonna compete.
So you had to run through the Southland Conference last year, got to look at everybody. You haven't been to every gym yet, have you? But whether you have or not, everybody's kind of seeing what the Lions are looking at, and where you need to be in this conference to win.
Right, and I think that's a process that I started as soon as I got hired here in my first year, and knowing how it's nothing comes fast and easy. Everything's a process, so we're taking it like that. I think the additions of that we added on definitely puts us a step forward in that. We're trying to get back to the middle of the pack and really contend for the Southland. I think we finished really well. I think we didn't finish the way we wanted to, but throughout the season we were on point to do what we needed to do. And wheels fell off the track a little bit, but I also think that's a good thing. I think it's a learning experience. new system, new head coach, and now we're adding these players in here. So hopefully we get an edge. But we're not naive to understand that SFA and UTRGV came into the conference.
Sure.
So we got to look at it that standpoint too. So it's going to be, we're fighting tooth and nail now. Now we have some windmills against us. But we love the challenge, and this is what kind of program we are. We're going to take on the challenge, and I think our kids are bought in on that.
Very good. How's the recruiting trails for you in volleyball?
The recruiting trails have been great. I think our program and our brand has come out a little bit more in the light with the younger kids, and we're attracting a little bit more of who we are now. I mean, being D1, the Alabama win helped us. We're generating a lot of traction in the recruiting. So now we're getting to the point where we're going to be a little bit more picky and or have a little bit more say in what direction we want to go into.
There's an old ball coach that's not here anymore, but he used to say right at the start that there used to be a D2 list of players that a coach would hand you and say, what you got? Now it's a different list and they're D1 talent.
Yeah, it is. Me coaching in the D2 ranks for like 9 years.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely understand that. People always ask me, what's the difference? As coaches, we look at talent. But now we're looking at talent of who we're going to play against too, and now with these schools that we're playing in preseason, we're going to up the ante a little bit more in recruiting and what we're getting. And so we got some good commits coming in 25 that are also going to keep that boat rocking a little bit more. And, we're going in the right direction. When I came in here, when I got hired on, I was telling some of the admin, I had a plan going on, had a recruiting plan. And we're sticking to that as much as we can to get to where we need to be in this coming year, in 2025, and in 2026 when we become eligible for NCAA, because that's when it matters.
In the Lone Star State, I know there are volleyball hotbeds all around the country, but where are the best players coming from in Texas?
In volleyball, I think the Mecca is Dallas, and I think we're slowly getting into that point. I think it's been some time to get into Dallas because those kids are, they're going to Texas, Nebraska, and if they do decide to stay in town, they're going to SMU. Now they see a little bit on our side a little bit. So we're getting some attraction from the Dallas area a little bit more now because, A, we're D1, who we're playing, the stages we're playing on, which way our program is going. Me from being from San Antonio, coming from the South, I've always had a niche between, the San Antonio, Houston, and Austin area, which most of our kids, we got a lot from Houston, got a couple from San Antonio, but we're stretching into the Dallas area now. So we got some kids coming in that realm as well. So, we're exactly where we want to be in the recruiting trail and the recruiting tracks. And so, once we get to over that hump, it's game on.
All right. So the big game every year is going to be against your rivals. Coach, who's the big rival in the Southland Conference for your Lions?
Right now I think we're battling that a little bit to find out who's the rival and where we're at. I think Northwestern has been our travel partner, and we felt we got one on them in the season, they got one on us, and then we fell to them in the conference tournament. So that's taken on a little bit of a stage too. My assistant came and played at Corpus, so that has a little bit. I coached at McNeese, that has a little bit. So I think we're generating that a little bit in that aspect. We saw SFA in an exhibition last year, so we know them a little bit. We haven't seen UTRGV, so that's a little bit going in blind a little bit with that. So rivalry, I think we're talking about people within our surrounding area, like Northwestern, maybe UIW, maybe Lamar. We're still trying to generate that a little bit and see who's the one that's always going to be the left-right, kind of deal. And so we'll see. But no matter who we take and where we're going, we're going all in. So
rivalry is loading.
It's loading.
We'll find out.
We're going to find out. Absolutely.
All right. Last question, because then we're going to go. But all that time you spent down in Kingsville, so we can talk like brand names now because you're not there anymore. We're not going to Kingsville anymore.
Yeah.
LTAP, best food in Kingsville.
LTAP has some. I'm gonna give LTAP a shout out. That's really good food out there. I definitely loved it. Breakfast tacos. I mean, all the way to French toast. It was really good, and the coffee, So it was at least a twice a week cup of meal.
So the first time I ever went down to Kingsville for a basketball game, and I went into El Tap for dinner.
Right.
And at 6 o'clock straight up, here comes a group of high school students in a mariachi band.
Yeah.
And they played for a while. It was kind of awesome
Yeah,
to do.
if you get there in the evening, if you get there early on, you're gonna have some music with you too. So you can't go wrong with that.
All
You can't go
right.
wrong.
Joe Morales, head coach of the Lion Volleyball program. Lions up, folks. We'll have more of Inside Lion Athletics when we get back. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Inside Lion Athletics. Charlie Chitwood. I'm joined now by the head coach of the A&M Commerce Lion football team, Clint Dolezel. Hey, man, it's football season.
It is. It's nice to hear my name pronounced right, too. That's awesome. You do a great job with that.
Well, I did ask, so. Anyway, guys, Coach, the soccer team's already been out on the field. Your guys have been working out in the heat, getting ready for San Diego and beyond. It's coming up pretty quick. That plane's going to take off next week.
Yeah, it is. I grew up. I'm 54 years old, and ever since I've been born, it seems to be always hot in Texas this time of year, and we're used to it. We're out there working in it, and our guys are going to be in well conditioned because of it too. So it'll be nice to head to San Diego with some cool weather in the horizon.
It's usually when we know that it's football time is when the calendar turns to August and the temperature gets above 100.
Right. And it's here. There's no doubt. We've had some good days, though, of some cooler shade, a little bit of wind. Of course, that makes everything here. Mm-hmm. It's always weird how it gets really hot, there's no wind. It's how that works hand in hand, but it does around here. And it's been bearable, I'll say that.
Right. Oh, well, they are well taken care of, lots of water. It's not like, I don't know about your days, but my days it was salt tablets.
You were soft
if
if you drank water.
Yeah, you were. Yes, you were. And salt tablets,
Right.
They were really good. Let's talk about your guys. Hey, you got to be excited. The recruiting this year to get you ready. You and your staff kind of all learned a little bit more about the process and what you needed to get, and you went out and got a bunch of them to get some depth.
Did, and some new coaches. I think that's a big part of it. I love my coaching staff. Those are some go-getters right there. I think that's a big part of why our recruiting was so successful. Went out and sought after some little higher quality of player from other schools. Went heavy JUCO instead of straight portal. Got a few portal guys to sprinkle in there as well. So, I'm pleased with where we're at. I'm pleased with our depth for sure on the offensive side of going out and getting some bigs up front. We've got 2 or 3 behind those guys too. And as of last year, we're going to need, you just need those. You're going to have some injuries. But I think we have a little depth there now to help us out.
Knock on wood, keep everybody healthy. You've got a veteran quarterback in the backfield to lead things off. Keep him healthy. Erod, some people, they're going to be students on campus that don't know who he is.
Right.
And I think this is his 4th year, obviously.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I got here last year, and he was going through an ankle injury, recovering from a surgery. Didn't heal up right and had another one, so he missed all of last year. Got to watch a lot of film on him and knew what I was missing all last year. And he's still been working his way back slowly, but you can see why he was a starter, 2 years ago here and won 5 games for us. So we like his leadership qualities. We think he's going to do a great job for us. And Ron Peace has done a great job right behind him. He deserves some playing time. He'll get some play in there. He does some different things. So, we're excited about that position.
We got to see some of that depth in the spring game. You were able to run out some new names and faces, and it was fun to see a number of them playing well.
Yeah, I know I got Avi asked me to send a list of players for offensive data for pictures, and I sent them over, and I looked at it, and I was like, man, there's only 2 of those out of those 20 that are from last year's team. So we got 18 new faces in there that we're counting on, and they've done well so far since the spring and fall camp.
Offensive line just got decimated by injuries last year, Coach, but you got reloaded there most of all. Anybody you want to talk about from the line?
There's several. We got Ethan Vasquez, who came in from Sam Houston. We love him. Actually, my cousin played with his dad at A&M, so got a little bit of a tie there. That helped us, I think,
Sure.
getting him. Billy from Blinn is going to be our center starting out, and he does a great job for us. Very, very athletic. He's the quarterback of our line. And Chris Love, a transfer as well, coming in. Those three are going to be in the middle for us, and they're going to hold it down, hopefully.
What about the way that these guys are getting into the offense? The returnees had a little bit of an understanding of it through last year, and now they come in having, oh, yeah, I remember that, and they can teach the other guys.
No doubt. Jaden Jones, didn't mention him because he's not in the interior, but he's the leader of our offensive line. No doubt. Having him back, and, just a credit to those guys to go through what they did last year. It was hard. It was not fun being out there and losing those football games like that, and it was just very hard. And for those guys that were very good players for us and starters, a lot of them on defense, to come back after last year is a credit to them. They could have gotten a portal, gone somewhere else and maybe same level or maybe even a little higher up, but they saw the plan. They see what we've got going. They believe in what we're doing, and they see what we see. We're a better football team.
Man, that's great. Coach, over on defense, you talking about them, that's what kept you in so many games last year.
All of
It's going to be a tiny bit thinner as far as depth goes with those guys, but, bring on anybody.
I love our secondary. Max leading that one, all conference coming back. Looks like a preseason All-American type player for us as well. He is definitely the quarterback of the defense, and Leon Young up front, returner. Our edges, Cliff and Wody are both returners as well. So we feel good with our 11 out there. We are a little bit thin in this, after that depth-wise, but man, those 11 that start for us, they can go get it done.
Coach, tell us a little bit about how you're going to handle back-to-back trips out to the West Coast. I mean, you can take your surfboard to San Diego. I don't know about Davis, though. Probably a little far in.
One day at a time. That's all we can do.
There you go.
It's just a tough travel for us, no doubt about it. We'll fly down Friday for San Diego State. We'll play the game. We'll fly right back after the game. So we'll have a chance to get back in line and start watching UC Davis and do it all again the next Friday and fly out there. But it won't be a big deal. I mean, it's what we do. We travel. It doesn't matter where we go. We'll just it'll be nice though. We have good company.
All right. So, Coach, our conference schedule got changed up a little bit when the conference expanded on us. And lo and behold, there's a game that got circled on our season schedule. Who's our rival?
Yeah, Stephen F. It was a long time ago as well. It's nice to get that rivalry back. Back in the day, it was obviously that. And there's been a little bit of mischief in there since then to get the rivalry even a little bit more since we have the axe.
Jim wouldn't admit it.
I don't know how that happened.
But
somehow
you come right out.
It just got misplaced in our bag somehow, and then we ended up with it, and we let them know that it's here.
Well, when they come up here,
they can get it then.
Yeah.
That's right. But it's a great rivalry. I mean, it's all good fun, and Coach Carpel has obviously been here, done that, won a national championship for us there, and the rivalry's great.
All right. Well, folks, this has been great getting to visit with everybody like this. We got to wrap up this first episode of Inside Line Athletics. Coach, thanks for coming in aboard.